programs director now. I took the place of Linda Brody, and I'm not really taking her place because I'm not very good at it. She's the pro. So I'm going to introduce Dee in just a second, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I'm also the director of the Canadian River Valley Riders Workshop, which is a coordinated effort between our group, the Texas High Plains Riders, and the Canadian Arts Alliance, which I'm also a part of in Canadian. So we are having a workshop April 11th through the 13th. It's actually, we'll leave the 14th, but it's just like a breakfast, so we won't really have any workshops that day. But we have some really fabulous speakers. Our main workshop teacher this year is going to be Jay Wells. She is a best-selling, she's like an urban fantasy kind of genre that she does, and she is a great teacher. I've gone to several of her classes at the Dallas-Fort Worth Writers Conference. And we also have Sarah Bell, who is a romance writer, and she's like a rapid release self-publisher. So she's going to, Thursday we're kind of working on self-publishing, and she's going to come tell us a lot about self-publishing. And we're also going to have our own Christine Rohrman, and she's also self-published, and they're going to give us some of the ins and outs of self-publishing and teach us about formatting. And we're going to have a fabulous little like fun night that night. We're going to eat in our little local coffee shop and all like get to know each other and talk about our work, and it'll be fabulous. Friday, we'll have workshops all day, and Saturday night is going to be a really cool event because all of our published authors, we're calling it Literature and Lattes. So we're going to be in the local art gallery, and all of our published authors will be set up and selling their books and talking to the public and talking to each other. We'll probably do some readings. It'll be a really great event, and just a way to get to know the people in Canadian, get to know our local authors and that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll have some good press there, and it'll be fun. Anyway, what I really need to tell you is we only have 3 rooms left. So if it's something that you're interested in, you can go to our Facebook page, which is Canadian Arts Alliance, and we also have it posted on the Texas High Plains Riders, and there's a link there with tickets. It also has, when you hit that link, you can go to info page if you want like a detailed schedule and more information about that. So before I start pushing those last 3 rooms really heavy, I wanted to give you all a chance. So there we go. Hope to see you all in Canadian. So now I'm going to introduce Dee Burks, our speaker. She has worked in the publishing industry for 25 years. She had her own publishing company in Texas for about 10 years that specialized in personal development and business books. Dee has worked with authors like Bob Proctor, Joe Vitale, Mark Victor Hansen, David Orrick, John Maxwell, and many others. She is a best-selling author and taught continuing education classes right here at Amarillo College. She now concentrates most of her time on her own books set in New Mexico, and she also freelances and teaches writing classes. So let's welcome Dee.
Thank you, Miss Dee. Thank y'all for having me here. I'm probably going to nix the microphone as well, simply because I move around a lot. So, and that's, yeah, I know. So, hopefully you all can hear me. If I get to the point you can't hear me, let me know, and I will try to project a little bit better. I did teach a lot of writing classes at Amarillo College. Interestingly enough, I still teach a lot of writing classes depending on where I'm at. I lived in Amarillo for 23 years. I moved to New Mexico about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. And I live in Raton. It is Raton, not Raton. Please tell your friends. Okay? Y'all Texans, tell your friends. But I really do enjoy it. It has added even more to my base of what I already do. I do freelance a lot. And that is basically what pays the bills. I'm a working writer. When I write fiction, I consider myself an author. When I write freelance, I'm a writer. They're different. Different job descriptions, different skill sets. One of the things, I did teach writing freelance and ghostwriting at Amarillo College too. That's a 6-week course. So I've had to try and distill it down for an hour and a half. So it's pretty much going to be a broad overview, and I apologize for that. But if y'all ever want me to come back and do a seminar just on freelancing and ghostwriting, I absolutely can. Just give me a holler. Because I already have that curriculum. But freelancing has changed a great deal. It is way easier to make way more money, which I love. Everything I look at on the freelance side is all about return on investment. It's really great to write fiction. I love writing fiction. It's great to write the book of your heart, but it's better to get paid. And so, I really approach the freelance and ghostwriting side from a very business standpoint. You have to make decisions that are in your best financial interest. Having said that, just like any other job, the more skills you acquire along the way, in addition to your regular job right now, in addition to your fiction skills, in addition to any other skills, the bigger your skill set, the bigger your potential. It is way easier than it has ever been to get work quickly, to get paid quickly. All of that has done tremendous things for the freelance world. I did own a publishing company here for about 10 years. We did a lot of writing coaching and ghostwriting for business people, CEOs, all kinds of people, plastic surgeons, realtors. About 75% of the business was international. I still do a lot of work internationally for a lot of those clients. One of the things that we will talk about, I'm just going to kind of touch on it briefly, is I absolutely do not market myself, period. Absolutely do not. No. The first 5 years that I ghostwrote, worked with other publishing companies, no website, no social media. You could not get to me unless you knew somebody. And we had so much business, we absolutely couldn't handle it. The best year we ever had, we made $1 million, and that was 2 people. So don't think the money's not there, it is. And the reason I still am not super active on social media is the second I do, and this is a good example, Jenny sent me a link to Alignable. 2 days later, I had to shut it down because I got so overwhelmed. Once people figure out what you do, they will waste a significant amount of your time and never spend a dime with you. So you do have to make a lot of hard decisions, and we're going to talk about some of those decisions. Working as a freelancer means you have to be a consummate professional. There are so many people out there that think they can hop into freelance, make a quick buck, hop back out. And they are creating a situation where a lot of people get their money taken and they don't get anything delivered, which is really unfortunate. For those of us who do work hard, it's somewhat fortunate because by the time they get to you, they are desperate and they will pay the money for your skill set. So that's a very good thing. But you have to know your value. And people who come from the fiction side tend to tremendously underestimate their own value. You have value as a writer the second you put a word on the page. The cool thing is, you don't have to have an advanced degree. You don't have to have any specific skill set. You don't have to ace English, thank God, because I totally didn't. You have to be able to produce and perform. If you can do that, you're in. You're good. So don't think you have to have something important or you have to have a super duper resume. I never even send anyone a resume anymore. I just don't even bother because it's not about that. It's about your skill set, and that's what they're hiring. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about recent experience, just so y'all kind of know. Because I've moved to New Mexico, I've always loved travel writing. I do a great deal of it now, just simply because I have the time to go and see cool things. And every time I go, I think, oh, I should write about that. And so I do. And so these are some relatively recent things. And they are simply things that are literally outside my front door. And you have those things here as well. So how do I get it to switch over to the internet? I mean, it's on my screen, but it's not up here. Tech people, Ryan.
Sorry, what?
Ryan. I needed to switch over to what's on my computer, the screen that's on my computer.
Hit the escape key.
Oh, on the,
Does that work for you?
Whoa.
oh, did it do it?
Yeah, we saw
Did
it for a
a
minute.
second.
Looked like the snow.
Can we try and type it?
By
Sorry.
all means, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
We just need to pull it up.
Well, I'm trying to exit your slideshow.
Oh, we'll probably just do some, yeah.
But here, let's do.
Because I was just gonna hop back and forth. Okay, while that's happening. While our tech issues are happening,
And you want to go to the webpage?
yeah, this one.
You guys know I'm not really a tech person, right?
You are today. You are today. Here again, expand your skill
Keep
set.
going.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. A little bit of information. I didn't really start heavy-duty freelancing until about 2006. I owned a magazine and advertising agency previously, and when I got out of that, I signed a 5-year non-compete that said not only would I not compete with them, I wouldn't freelance anywhere. Don't ever do that. That was a bad idea. So it wasn't until 2006 that I felt like I could really get out there and freelance. I probably could have before that, but I just didn't. I don't want to break the rules, so I didn't. So it really wasn't until 2006-ish. So that was kind of the beginning. This is a recent one. That's an A. Burks squirrel for those of you who are unfamiliar. This I wrote for The Dirt magazine. The Dirt is a camping, outdoor kind of thing. I've written a bunch of things for them. If you've seen my Facebook page, I post these articles all the time. This was a new skill set for me last year because this magazine doesn't want you just to write. You have to source the pictures, upload it into WordPress, including formatting all the pictures, formatting everything, inserting all the links, inserting all these links, everything. You have to do your own search engine optimization, SEO, with the Yoast plugin. All of that was a new skill set. So never think your skill set cannot be improved. And by the way, I learned it in an afternoon. YouTube, it was great. That's also another great thing about the internet. You can learn anything on YouTube in an afternoon. That's where I learned it. And I have written numerous articles for them, and I post them all the time. And that was a really great skill set. At the time they were paying okay. I was really working for them to get that skill set because so many magazines are going to this format. You need that skill set. Younger people, a lot of you already have this skill set. But that's mainly why I did it. Then, of course, they changed their payment structure because they had 17 writers at the time working in different areas of the country. Obviously, my area was New Mexico, part of Texas, and Oklahoma. And when they changed the payment structure, within 30 days, every one of those writers quit. So they're having some issues now. But obviously, working writers expect to be paid. So I think that they're learning that lesson. But this was a great skill set to learn. Those of you who do travel, who are interested in getting into the blogosphere, this is a great skill set to learn. And again, an afternoon on YouTube. It is not difficult. It's not hard. Those of you who are under 40, it will come to you like natural. Those of us who aren't under 40, we have to work at it a little bit. But absolutely learnable and a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. And there are a lot of blogs that pay. There are a lot of, So just so you know, some recent things I've done. Back to 2006 right quick. Let me see if I can escape out of this. And get back to where we were. There we are. Woo-hoo! I've done, well, these are all articles that I've done for them, and we'll go through some of these as we talk. But back in 2006, I started kind of working in earnest. And I started what I would say traditionally, approaching magazines, trade magazines, that kind of thing. At the time because I wasn't really working in writing, I was working on fiction because of the non-compete. I was working in financial services. It's kind of my thing. I looked for trade magazines because I'd always heard, well, you need to start with the little magazines and break in. That used to be the traditional way you did it. So I thought, okay, well, that's what I need to do. So I got on one of the job sites, which was available back then. Realized the internet is not that old. In 06, it was still a new thing, y'all. I mean,
It was.
but one of the early writing job posting sites was freelancewriting.com. They're still going. They're still one of the best job posting freelance sites. Freelancewriting.com. So I got on there, and there was a little magazine. It's called Credit Union Business Magazine. And since I was working in banking financial services, I'm like, oh, well, I'll write something. My background is kind of in leadership and HR, so I wrote C-level HR kind of things, financial things for corporate CEOs in the credit union business. And I would write for them one article maybe every quarter, every 3 to 4 months. Those articles ran about 1,500 words, and I got paid like $700 an article, which 10 years ago, 13 years ago, long time ago, was quite a bit. In today's dollars, it'd be what, $1,500, $1,800 a month, or every quarter. And one of the first things I realized as a freelance writer is to understand return on investment and your hourly rate. How long does it take you to do something? What do you get paid for it? And how can you make that ongoing income? Doing something like that every 3 or 4 months is not going to pay your rent or your mortgage. So I sat down and I tried to figure out, okay, how can I make this better work? So I thought, okay. And I decided to pitch this magazine a monthly, because they were a monthly magazine, a leadership series. A 12-month leadership series where it would be a regular special series they would have every month for a year. And this was in 2008. I'd written for them for about a year and a half, once every 3 or 4 months. It was very slow. So I pitched them the leadership series. And the guy, his name's Tim, he said, because what I wanted to do with this leadership series was start the series off with an interview with a big name. So I listed a bunch of big names at the time, like, Jim Collins, John Maxwell, blah, 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 bunch of names. And he emails me back and says, if you can get John Maxwell, you've got a deal. So, needless to say, I got John Maxwell. This is the initial article, the leadership series. They did a special logo for it. This was my first big freelance, what I felt like was my first big win, because it was a monthly thing. He was coming out with this book at the time, which was Leadership Gold. He sent me an advance copy. And the interesting thing about this, and I remember it so well because I really felt like, okay, now I'm a real writer. I was always a real writer, but I didn't feel like I was because I didn't have that monthly income every month, those things you think you have to be that real writer. Well, about 60 days after this came out, I got an email, and the National Credit Union Convention in Las Vegas asked me to come and speak at their convention. And I'm like totally nobody, right? They paid my way, went out to Vegas, they paid me to speak, and I really felt like, okay, I can do this. I can so do this. I was so excited. And that really kind of kicked off my understanding of anyone can do this. Anybody can do this. But you have to go and ask for the business. You have to put yourself out there as a professional and say, hey, here's what I have to offer. Okay? And then you have to deliver. But that was really the first big thing where I realized how much income I could make, and that these magazines are incredibly desperate for what you have to offer. Here again, One of the biggest issues with these magazines is writers who do not deliver. They do not meet their deadlines. They do not provide what they say they're going to. It's very much, and I have a background in HR, but it's very much just like the working world. If they can get one warm body that'll just show up on time and just do what they're supposed to do and not yell at people and not, really? Well, all these people, all these places that need writers are in the same boat because so many people do not do those things. So if you can nail down those few things, do what you say you're going to do it on time, and always deliver, you will be highly paid. Okay? But those, you have to understand those concepts. That was really the first big coup. But these days I do a lot of different things. I do write articles. I also do, and actually I'll need some help. Mike, if you want to pass these out, or somebody, I think I brought enough for everybody. Like I said, I moved to Raton. Actually, I'll give you the whole bag. Yeah, I think there's enough for everybody. I moved to Raton about 2.5 years ago. There you go. And at the time when I moved, I was an HR director for the hospital there, which that lasted about a year, and I got sick of that, and so now I just freelance. I make way more money. It was costing me to go to work. So, but I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce. And Raton is a relatively small town. The population sign says 6,000 people. I honestly do not believe that sign at all. It's more like 4,000 maybe. But they were not running their nonprofit like a business unit, which blows my mind. So I got involved with the chamber. I'm now president of the chamber, have been for 2 years. One of the first things we produced was this magazine, because guess what? This is my skill set. I can produce magazines. I can produce advertising. Had not used those skills since 1999. But guess what? It took me an afternoon to get back up to speed, because the software is way easier than it was then. And so it's wonderful. Here again, if you have a skill set and you take the time to learn a skill set, you will be paid. This first magazine I did for them for free. They needed to see I could do it. And this next year, the magazine will expand to 80 pages, and I will be well paid to do it. But here again, if you have the skill set, this is an additional thing that I'll make money on this year. I've now been contacted by 6 other small towns who want the same thing, and I've had to tell them no. Seriously, no. So, here again, if you have the skill set, if you produce, and if you do what you say you're going to do, you will get the business. Okay? And here again, I learned this that initial skill set way before YouTube, and it was very hard. Oh, I would love to have YouTube these days. But that's an additional thing that I do. Here again, expand your skill set, expand what you do. When I owned the publishing company, what we did was books for people, for these professionals, like I said. And I've got some examples of those. We did books for, this is David Orrick, vacuum guy. We did a book for him. It's a business book. He wanted to put out this business book. We also did marketing and media for all these authors. We ran 3-day author schools, giving them media training, how to talk on the radio, how to be on TV and not look stupid, and how to develop key messaging, all that stuff. And all of our authors would come in from all over the world to attend the author schools. For authors like David, who did not need any media training, he's in his 90s, and let me tell you what, he can sell. Still flies his plane back and forth from his house to New Orleans every day. He's amazing. But anyway, we did media. We ended up getting him a spot in the Sunday edition of the Wall Street Journal and on Lou Dobbs. Did we know how to do that before we did it? No. Nope. Just did it. And guess what? It happens. We also, we wrote a number of books, and I have, some of y'all have seen Dr. Linder. He used to be on Beverly Hills Before and After way back when. He's a pretty famous plastic surgeon out in Beverly Hills. His was one of the first books we ever did. That was like in '06. And he's still selling these books, by the way, which was great. Once you work for people and you do a good job, that's where most of my business comes from, referrals from past clients. There are some people I did a book with in '07, and we've just done their 7-3. And so it's an ongoing source of revenue if you deliver on your promises. A couple of authors we worked with are married. Dr. Bush, Rick Bush, he's a chiropractor. Surgery Not Included was one of his first books. And his wife, who suffered from fibromyalgia, Jennifer, we did a book for her as well. Just this week, he emailed me asking if we could do a revised version and a new book. So everything you do brings you more business. And so I'll be working with them on that. There is also someone that I started working with in '06, and his name is Tom Feltenstein. Tom is one of those characters that every time his number pops up, I think, oh my. He used to be an executive VP for Walmart way back when. He was one of the original people that developed the Ronald McDonald houses. And they did that as a marketing thing, by the way. They needed a better image. So Ronald McDonald it was. But he's a marketing guy, and he does very, very high-level business coaching. For someone to book a day with him is $20,000 up front. He does super high level. He speaks at the national franchise organizations, the national restaurant organizations. He's very, very well known. And we just came to know him through one of our book clients who became one of his business clients. And so eventually, obviously, Tom became one of our clients. And I've worked with him since about '06 or '07, probably '07, a long time. Well, his presentation to a lot of his clients is a book makes you an expert. They're already experts, but a book allows you access to media. It allows you to do several things. And so for a lot of his clients, I do a lot of books for a lot of his clients, but he was wanting to prove to these clients that you could, if you have a book about anything, you could make it work, right? And he's such a marketing guy. He's just way out there. So he asked myself and my business partner at the time, Liz Ragland, if we could write a very tongue-in-cheek book about how to marry for money. And he was going to use this book to prove to his clients, it doesn't matter what your book's about, it'll get you some notice, right? So Liz and I sat down, had to be done in 30 days. We had the best time with this book. It's funny, it's irreverent, because we thought, no one will ever read it anyway, who cares, you know? And so we just had the best time with this book. And here it is. We called it Lucrative Love. And Tom, being the marketer, he asked us, and this is another revenue stream, by the way, to do some billboards and other media for him. So this was one of the billboards we came up with. Have made, have money with love of honey. This billboard was on Highway 1 in Florida. It goes from, I don't know, Miami all the way up. He lives in West Palm. Anyway, this billboard was seen by a producer of the Jay Leno show. This book ended up on the Jay Leno show. They did a skit, one of their gasoline skits, where they asked people questions. And as the people were pumping their gas, they said, hey, would you marry for money? It was a great skit. So this is the only book I've ever had on the Jay Leno show. But it is, and it's upside down, but it is proof that a book can do fabulous things for you. And it's this kind of promotion that not only brings you additional revenue streams as a writer, but a lot of business, okay? So anyway, but he is just so fun. I just can't even sometimes. If you are going to be a freelancer, how many of you in this room have thought about freelancing or adding freelance to what you're doing? Everybody's thought about it. It's like saying, how many people have ever thought about writing a book? And one of those reasons is there is so much money out there. It is so tempting. But you have to know your why. Why are you considering freelancing? If it's just to make a few dollars to pay the bills, you're probably going to fail horribly. Freelancing is a job. You have to have the skill set. You have to be committed to being a professional. So those things are very, very important. You have to decide, is this going to be something short-term or long-term? Because that's going to determine the type of freelance writing that might be the most suitable for you in your situation. If you're doing something long-term, you may decide, well, okay, I need some quickies. So maybe I'm just going to write press releases. Press releases are super easy. I've done a bazillion of them. They take like 20 minutes. And I get paid $2.50 a press release. So you can do several a week and not have to do anything else. And that's not really a long-term kind of thing. But here again, you have to make that decision. If you're writing books for people, or you're coaching them to write books, that sometimes is a multi-month commitment. So those are decisions you have to make up front. What kind of freelancing is going to suit what you want it to do? Okay? Because that will narrow down the types of jobs you look at. Because let me tell you, when you get out there and you start looking at job boards, the overwhelm will just smack you in the face. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know what to do. Make the decision first. Is this short term? Is this long term? Is this going to be your side gig? Or is this going to be your full-time gig? Those are going to be very different viewpoints. Okay? What is your experience? It's easy to sit and think, well, I don't have any experience. Not true. You breathe. You have had human experience up to this point. Many of you are parents, grandparents. You travel, even if it's just to your backyard. You've had good things happen to you. You've had bad things happen to you. You do have education and some job experience. Write all those down. Okay? Write all those down. You will find something that is within that experience set or your existing skill set. It is much easier to find jobs with things you already know or skill sets you already have rather than learning something new, even though you can always learn something new. So look at what you have first, because that's going to be your quickies. And that's going to be the things you can do easily. And there are some things that are absolutely evergreen. Parenting. That goes on forever. There will always be articles on parenting. Parenting will always be popular because we will always be parents. Relationships. Evergreen subject matter. Travel. Evergreen subject matter. It will always be there. But write down your skill set. Okay? And go with that skill set. And then you have to decide what kind of nonfiction business writing do you like to do. I tell people all the time, if you're trying to do something and you don't like doing it, it's going to show. You're going to fail. It's kind of like you can tell when someone's being paid money to do something. It's never as good. But if you enjoy what you're doing and you're able to gain revenue from it, that's the perfect mix. So do what you like doing. Let's take an example. How many people know what a white paper is? Lengthy research paper feels like the horrible essay from hell. Okay. I hate white papers. I can't even tell you. But some people excel at them. People who love research, people who are very good at citing references and doing those sorts of things, they love white papers. A lot of businesses will pay a lot of money for white papers. But that's not something I enjoy. It's torturous to me. So I don't do it. Do not force yourself to do something you don't like to do just because you think you're going to get paid. There are many, many things to get paid for. So don't think you have to do something you hate. I like marketing stuff. I like to write book blurbs, $75. And these are things I can do quickly, easily, shoot them off. I can do media kits very quickly. I can do web copy very quickly. Advertising copy, copywriting for advertising. And here again, because it's in the marketing realm, it tends to pay very well. So keep that in mind. Billboards, which, I mean, how many words were on that billboard, really? And they tend to pay very well. But here again, only do what you enjoy doing. If you don't like marketing, don't get in that side. You don't have to. But you've got to make some of those decisions or you will be overwhelmed with the amount of options. So cut them down before you even go out and look. Say, what's in my wheelhouse already? What do I like already? What are things I know about already? And then what fits those areas, okay? Let's just take parenting, for example. Parenting is not really on the business side of things, but it is on the nonfiction side of things, and it's a huge market. People pay for blog posts for parenting, for articles for parenting, things just like the Dirt magazine. There are online magazines for parenting, lots of opportunity just in that one little bitty area. If you are a parent of multiples, there's opportunities just in that one little area. The secret to really good ongoing business is being able to really hone in on what you do well, not try to be all things to all people. You are not Walmart. Do not be Walmart because you will be terrible at everything. Get very, very good at a few specific things. You don't need everything else. You can make absolutely good money with a few specific things. So don't think you have to learn all this stuff. You don't. You absolutely don't. But figure out what you enjoy. Sometimes you have to try a few things to figure that out. So don't not try. Obviously try, because you might find something you really enjoy, but start with what you know first. Okay? And I have no idea what time it is, but I better get my phone so I know. Oh, what time are we supposed to break?
11.
Are we supposed to break?
11.
Okay,
Yes.
let's take a break right quick. Sorry about that.